I don't know where our drinks are.
Oh, she's making coffee.
Excuse me, waiter!
I'll check the app. Ordered 5 minutes ago. It should be here. I just ordered this.
Oh, just a second. Our drinks have arrived.
We don't have to pause. We can just keep talking. The drinks are here.
That one's Timothy's.
You got some extra vodka and Bailey's, right? Yeah.
Did you put cream in his coffee?
No, I don't like cream. No. Black.
Yeah, right.
No, you didn't. She didn't.
Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Take time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
Well, welcome back to the Greg and Tim Show. I, as always, am Tim. Chronologically, that's last in the Tim and Greg Show, but some people
Greg
say
and Tim
some
show.
people think it sounds better.
Well, we go in alphabetical order.
T and
Greg
Greg.
and Tim.
And
G comes before T.
to my, I believe that is true.
Yep.
To my right, my immediate right, not left, not to be mistaken with left, is my co-host Greg, who has just bought a new hats or
As
3
always.
today. And he's going to tell us about
Oh,
that.
that's water.
He's going to tell
That
us.
doesn't taste at all like coffee.
She gave you water.
Yeah, I got water.
So to my right here, like I said, is Greg. You threw me off with that.
Yeah, you were going to talk about my hat that I bought.
3 hats. You bought 3 hats.
I
They
bought
were on
3.
sale.
They were on sale.
It was a Raven sale. When you buy 16, you get them each for $30.
Yeah. How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing good. Just fantastic.
Hey, we got to go over our topics for the day today. So just so that you know when you're watching at home here.
But before you do that, we need to remind everyone, like, subscribe, share, all those good things.
Subscribe, share, comment.
Can't forget to do that. We've had a number of
people that haven't liked,
comments
subscribed, or
/
shared.
complaints this week.
Yeah. Most of the complaints have come from this Evan kid with a mustache.
And
with a Luigi mustache.
Jen would like you to do the hot tub confessionals from the hot tub. And you refuse to it.
Well, I don't have any waterproof gear that we can use yet.
We got to set it up. But it's warmer.
If you have a budget for waterproof gear and you would like to donate some to us,
just
let us
up
know.
Like higher, just a little bit like hang it above.
Just hang it above.
I'm sure the sound quality would be just fantastic. Okay, Greg.
So we have 4 topics for today, Tim. These are our 4 topics. Topic number 1 is going to be spring and how it is coming in like a lamb and leaving like a lion. It's been interesting here in Manitoba. If you're not from Manitoba, you should come once in spring and see what
wherever you are.
You
still have a spring,
and you also have spring.
Talk about your spring.
We're going to talk about contracts in sports and what's happening in the sporting world these days with contracts, and then the big topics of the day. There is, by the time this posts, there could possibly be an election called in Canada.
I've heard confirmation.
And we want to comment on that.
Reliable source. I'm not going to say when it is, but we have a source telling us exactly when the date is.
Yes.
I won't say it right now. We'll say it later on.
And then also we want to talk about
that is known as, I won't say his name again, but Raven.
Yeah. And also, we want to touch on a little bit of the tariff talk.
Tariff talk.
And I'm not talking about those fortune tellers. Those are tarot card readers. This is tariff talking.
Greg tells the corny jokes, the dad jokes.
Anyway, we're going to talk about whether or not you purchase in the United States. So stay tuned for the end because we're not going to talk about that until later on in the episode. So check it out as we go here. So, Tim, first topic of the day.
Before we get on to the topic of the day.
Yeah, let's waste some time.
Waste some time? No. So we have not had a podcast together, me and you facing together,
that has done
just
well.
The 2 of you. That has done well since week 1. No, we had
since week 2.
You had your wife on.
Yeah,
the 3 of you when I was gone.
Yeah,
and then
the 2 of us.
2 of us plus
me and my
wife and your wife joined us last week, and
my wife's been on 3 straight podcasts.
Yeah, exactly, and they've done really, really well.
Yeah.
So, what is your opinion on my take that I'm part of the problem? People don't want to see me.
Can I tell you one thing?
Yeah.
I agree. I agree with the viewers that say Tim is part of the problem. But we haven't tested just you and Tammy yet.
Right.
If it was just you
or
and Tammy,
myself and Lorraine.
or yourself
Or
and
Tammy and Lorraine.
or Tammy and Lorraine.
Maybe it's both a problem. Maybe we're both the problem.
If people are wondering why we haven't had guests on lately, it's because Tim has been slacking.
Yeah. You know, it's been in my department to get guests.
I transferred
And,
this over to Tim.
yeah.
This has become Tim's new gig, is finding guests.
Yeah. And speaking of guests.
And speaking of guests, we don't have any still.
So Scarlett,
Scarlett
is
Johansson,
still missing it. And she's still
just
has to
not
return our
answering any phone
emails.
calls.
But Tara Maslowski was again supposed to come on today.
And she canceled
and
on
she
us.
did cancel at the last minute. So it's unfortunate. And that's, why we're left with the stand.
Sorry.
So
Yeah.
I apologize to the viewers who are tuning in for Tara.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get on to the first topic of the day, my friend. First up, spring in Winnipeg. If you're from somewhere else, which I think most of our viewers
are from somewhere else.
From Winnipeg. Are they from somewhere else?
I think a lot of them are from somewhere else.
In Winnipeg, it's really, really cold in the winter, sorry. And then it's
And in the
slowly, and this year's actually been not bad, but slowly gets warmer. And then the snow that was covering our ground for the last, 4 months starts to slowly
Disappear.
go away. And every year, and I know you say it's all the time, but it's way worse in the spring. All of a sudden, everything comes up in my nose, and it's like I stuff up, and it just seems like it's a little bit of seasonal allergies. Last year at this time, exactly on this day,
has nothing to do with the.
A little bit. Last year on this day, it was the night before we left for Florida. You and the Bernard were sleeping on my couch because we had an early, like a 5 a.m.
Not together, separate couches.
5 a.m. flight.
Yeah.
You were sleeping. I don't think you guys slept at all.
We did not.
And I tried to get sleep upstairs. I don't think it worked, but it's just like.
And you were so complainy the next day in Orlando. Remember, you're like, I'm not going out for mini golf. No,
I wasn't going.
I'm not going.
Complaining. I
Disney.
just wasn't going.
I'm not going to Disney Springs with you guys to enjoy yourselves. So you just did nothing.
I wasn't complaining. I just said I wasn't going.
You said you were gonna. Remember what you said? I'm gonna hang out at the pools here.
Yeah, it's great.
And did you?
It's absolutely.
You did not.
I did.
No, you had to drive and go pick up the other.
Yeah, but I did.
Jabronis at the airport.
I did go to the hot tub and stuff. But yes, I picked everyball else up at the airport. It
rained.
It did rain. That's right.
It poured that night.
Yeah.
So I don't know when you went in the hot tub. All good for you.
But that's a year ago that we hanging out at my house.
I know,
right?
sad.
Yeah. Well, it's happy that we had those memories. It's not sad.
Yeah, happy that we're still alive.
Why would we not be alive?
People die.
Oh, because the car accident? Remember the car accident in Florida? And I was like in the hot tub and you guys were trying to call, our car is totally busted. And this police officer yelled at us and we're getting off the road. And I was like,
meanwhile, spring has sprung.
Yeah.
And you know what my least favorite part about spring is? That is part of it.
What is that funny?
So I don't know. I think the word is funny.
Just bleep it out.
Yeah.
I liked your whole podcast, but
I didn't like that part.
I didn't like that part.
So
resonate with the viewer.
The fact that spring everything gets melty and then frozen and then melty and then frozen. So A, it's slippery outside.
Yeah.
B, when it does start melting again, it's like mushy and gross and like really, really bad. Yeah. And the other thing I hate about spring is that it can't decide when it wants to be here.
Right.
So today it was +7.
Yeah.
For the American viewers, that's plus like
30?
30?
No, it's higher. 40,
35,
40 or
40?
something like that, yeah.
It's fairly well above freezing for us. So it's above freezing right now, but tomorrow
minus a jillion.
It will be -13 plus a wind chill of -27 Celsius. So for you American viewers out there, learn to use Google.
Yeah.
Because -26 Celsius is something in Fahrenheit, and I don't know.
This is a whole
I could probably do it.
It says Celsius, because you're asking Google what is -26 in Celsius with the wind chill, but still.
What is -26 Celsius in Fahrenheit? -14 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that makes sense. That took way too
What
long.
is +7 in Fahrenheit?
It's plus 40.
What is +7 Celsius in Fahrenheit?
Looks like you're just asking me.
44 degrees.
That's pretty close.
Yeah,
I said
pretty
40.
close.
Anyway, so but everyone loves spring.
So I don't like spring. I love
spring
fall.
Is probably the worst the worst season of them all.
Yeah.
But it gets so much good press because you just know it's going to keep getting warmer.
Summer's getting
And
there.
honestly, I agree with you. Fall is the nicest season of all.
I love fall.
No questions asked. It's beautiful. It's dry typically. The temperatures are still nice. The colors are beautiful. But it gets a bad rap because you're like, oh, it's coming. It's going to be like Greg's house when Lorraine opens up all the windows.
Winter is coming.
Winter's coming.
But yeah, so I'm not a big fan of spring, but I do love summer and I do love the fall.
Yeah.
I do not like the winter.
Yep.
And the spring would be second worst in my seasonal times.
Right. If you were to rank them,
I would go
favorite,
summer,
least favorite,
fall, spring, winter.
Yeah. I would go fall, summer, spring, winter. So slightly different lists.
You know that the fall is the best time of the year for sports?
Yeah. When all
four major sporting events
and cricket too
are happening.
And there's some cricket.
I think cricket happens all year round. Maybe even
That's what
soccer
I'm saying.
does.
That's what I'm saying.
But football, hockey, baseball, and
rugby,
basketball are all on at the same time in October.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Yeah, so spring's not my favorite. Fall, definitely one of my favorites. Now that I think about it, I probably like fall the most. Fall's when we go on our trip.
You are, yeah. That's correct.
No, me and you. We go to the Horn of Elk.
Oh yeah, the Elkhorn trip, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would still be the fall, yeah.
Yeah.
Early November.
Fall, no, that's winter.
No.
Winter.
December 21st,
right. Winter
yeah.
doesn't start until December 21st. Yeah. Fall starts in October 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. But anyway, do you want to move over to a little bit of sports talk? Jasmine's favorite part?
Yeah. Tell me about your hat first.
Okay. What do you want to know about it?
Well, tell the viewer.
So it's a company that's local to Winnipeg called Voke Sportswear.
VS, yeah.
VS, Voke Sportswear. So it used to be a company called Oak and Ore way back in the day. And they had some kind of like legal issues that I don't really know a lot about. But so they couldn't use the word oak and ore anymore. So they kept the oak, the O-A-K.
Yeah.
And what they did was oak and ore was around for 5 years. So they took the V for 5 and put it in front of oak.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's Voke.
There you
go. Yeah. And it says it on the back of the hat.
So they're not woke.
No,
Voke.
They're Voke.
Hey, that could be a phrase. Eh? That could be like
we're not woke.
We're not woke.
We're Voke.
We're Voke.
Yeah, so Voke Sportswear. It's a pretty cool sportswear company. If you want to check it out, it's
Here's a
online.
link is right here.
We'll put the link down there. Sure.
Here.
They're not sponsoring it. This isn't a sponsored podcast, and we've got a lot of expenses that we've come into in the last couple of days. So
3 free hats.
it would be
it'll cover like a tenth of it.
It would be nice if we could get a sponsor to cover some of these expenses.
Yeah. Hashtag blessed.
Hashtag get a sponsor. Please sponsor us.
All right, let's move.
Like to know. Let's move on to the contract.
The reason why we're going on to sports is again, Jasmine.
Jasmine has always requested more sports.
I think said that we did not do enough sports in the last episode.
So if you don't know who we're talking about,
none. We talked about. Did we talk about any sports?
I don't think so.
With the wives.
I don't think so.
So yeah.
So Jasmine Lane actually texted me.
Yeah.
So for those out there that don't know who Jasmine Lane is, you can click on her YouTube. She's big.
Was it like she was ahead of Joe Rogan in Canada?
She's number 12 in the podcast right now. Number 12
in the entire country.
Into the entire country.
That's
Jasmine
insane.
Lane.
Yeah.
So if anybody that likes Jasmine loves our podcast, get us to number 13.
And she's been a good friend to us. She's come on a couple of times.
She's been awesome.
We really appreciate her.
So that's why we talk about the sports.
Yeah.
Because she requests this.
So we have.
She's like, I'm inundated with government talk. I would like to hear about the sports.
So it seems like every year that goes by, and this is what I want to talk about. The prices on these athletes get higher and higher.
Yeah.
And right now, because the spotlight's on baseball, because it's before the beginning of the year, and this is when contracts usually come out. But you could talk about basketball, hockey, football as well.
Yep.
But baseball now, we're talking about our team, the Jays.
Yeah.
And our superstar, Vladdy Guerrero Jr.
Yep.
They could not come up to a contract agreement with the team, and this is his last year
with the team.
With the team that the team has control over him, and he's asking for X amount of dollars, something like $500 million over 14 years, something like that. And the team has said they are close to that range, but it hasn't hit his number.
Yeah,
And
apparently they're off by like 3.5 million or
which is
something like
insane.
that.
It could be how they structured the deal, but anyway, we're talking about lots of dollars anyway, and the team is still hopeful that they do sign him. But we have this argument on our chats all the time. It's like, this is too much money to pay any athlete. Just let him walk,
Yeah,
because he's not worth that money. And the people that would argue that would also say, listen, there's probably going to be a work stoppage or a lockout in the future because of some of these things, because the owners are going to say exactly what our friends are saying, or at least one of our friends. It's just too much money.
Yeah.
We got to get a handle on the spending, et cetera, et cetera. Would you agree with our unnamed friend that spending in baseball and sports in general is getting out of hand? And do you think that a guy like, let's use the example of Vladdy Guerrero, is worth the kind of money, whatever it is, $500 million over 14 years, that he's asking for?
So here's the thing with Vladimir Guerrero. He's one of these generational players that will only come around once in a generation.
Right.
So our player when we were growing up, do you remember who that was?
Ours being the Blue Jays?
Yeah, like when we were growing up.
Well, there was a few of them. For me, it was Barfield and Fernandez.
Roy Halladay.
Well, you were younger than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Roy Halladay was a generational player.
Right.
And the Jays said, you know what? We can't afford him. We're
Right.
going to trade him.
Yeah.
They trade him. He throws no hitters, which the Jays have not had a no hitter since Dave Stieb. Roy Halladay throws no hitters.
Yeah.
He throws perfect games. He wins
Yeah.
a World Series.
Yeah.
He goes on to be one of the greatest pitchers of that generation.
Yeah.
Because the Jays are like, oh, we don't need it. We shouldn't pay him.
Yeah. Which a lot of teams
And-
do. A lot of teams do not retain their
Yeah.
players. They move on.
Yeah, and
Not
that's
just the
true.
Jays.
That's true. It's not just the Jays. But what I'm saying right now about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette
Yeah.
is that you have two generational players on
Yeah.
your team right now.
Yeah.
And Bo Bichette had a down year last year, yes.
Yeah.
But this year, I expect him to be back over 300,
Yeah.
back hitting 30 home runs, back being the shortstop that he is.
Yeah.
You have two of these players, and you're thinking, and one of our friends thinks this way, they're not worth it.
Right.
They're not worth it. We should not be paying them. We should go and get two players for $15 million each.
Yep.
Instead of paying one player $35 million.
Right.
Good luck getting a player for $15 million in the major leagues right now.
I would sign that deal.
You would, yes. Evan would also, I heard.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Getting a $15 million player that hits more than 250 is going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
Even when you look at Santander, he's not a 300 hitter.
No.
And
he's
what
definitely-
did
not
he
a lot
get?
of players.
24 million?
Yeah, he got something like that.
He
Yeah.
got a pretty good contract.
Yeah.
Yes, he puts up very good home runs. But he's not hitting 300.
Yeah.
And he's not hitting 40 home runs with 300.
The argument that the camp of Guerrero says is that they're asking for less than Juan Soto, and he's a
Yeah.
comparable. All these players will say, don't look at X amount of dollars. Look at the comparable market value. And they would say, if they were in a room with you negotiating, listen, Juan Soto got this, and Juan Soto increased the value of what I'm worth, because it's all comparable. It's not this is not real money.
Yeah.
That if it wasn't going into baseball, it'd be feeding the hungry children of Africa,
Or would it?
or whatever, right?
Yeah. How do you know Juan Soto doesn't feed the hungry child of Africa?
The only people that suffer, he might with his, who knows how much he gives up. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But how do you know that? Sorry, I lost my train of thought here. Sorry, your question threw me off. But it's the only people. Sorry, I got it. The only people that get hurt by these exorbitant fees are the people that pay the tickets.
Yeah.
Right. So don't go to the games if you don't want to support this.
Yeah.
But does it hurt? John Q. Public, that someone gets a zillion. Let's say someone got $1 billion. You remember the first time someone got $1 million? I remember where I was the first time I heard someone got $1 million contract. It was the 80s, and it was like Kirby Puckett or somebody. One of those players got $1 million. It might have been even a Blue Jay. I'm not sure, but it was like, oh my gosh, they got $1 million, right?
Yeah, and here's the thing is that players are getting paid more.
Yeah.
Ticket prices are going up.
They are going up.
Food
for sure.
prices have gone up.
Which I'm not buying food there anyway.
Merchandise prices have gone up.
Yeah.
Like merch, now you buy a jersey and it's
Yeah.
costing you $200 minimum.
Yeah.
That's without a name sometimes.
Canadian, for sure. I mean, less American, but you do conversion.
Even in in the States, you're still paying $160, $170 for a jersey.
Yeah.
With a name on it.
Yeah.
Everything's gone up in price.
Yeah.
And the players are taking a cut.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not the one to say yes, the players are worth $40 million a year.
We aren't comparing this to the milkman. We don't
No.
have milkman, but the postal
40
worker that delivers your mail.
But the $40 million a year
Yeah.
is one thing.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if you don't pay it,
Yeah.
someone else will.
Right.
So, what is the cost of doing business?
Yeah.
What is the cost of being the Blue Jays franchise with a franchise player that will sell jerseys?
Yeah.
That will sell bobbleheads, that will sell other things with his name on it, that will become a spokesperson for the team, that will go to different things and grow the game of baseball.
Yeah.
Do you throw all of that away and start back in 2006 all over again? And then, you have players that are all no-namers or washed up players.
If Bo and Vlad leave, it's going to be dark days for the Jays.
Yeah.
They will be rebuilding and they will not be very good.
And then the problem is they won't sell tickets.
Yeah.
And they'll have to rebuild from within in order to be able to start selling tickets.
And if you
again.
lose those two players or one of those two players, the two good players that you thought you were going to get for 15 don't sign with your team, or they'll sign with you and it'll cost 25 instead of 15 because they don't want to go to a team that has lost two superstar players and doesn't want to pay them. What did Burns say? That pitcher Corbin Burns was going to come, apparently was going to come to the Jays. Jays were entered every free agent in the offseason. And Corbin Burns was one of them. And he came out in the media. I don't know how true it was, but the story was, why would I sign with you? You can't sign your own guys.
Yeah.
So what happens when you don't sign your own guys? Good luck getting those two players for 15. Because if they do come, you have to overpay them because they don't want to come to a loser, and you're going to have a loser if you let Vladdy Guerrero walk.
So you sign a guy like Santander this year.
Yeah.
You sign Jimenez as a second baseman.
Who looks defensively, he's a stud. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And he's hitting 2 in the preseason.
And he could do well. Varsho's been doing well.
Right. It's spring training, but he's been doing
he's been doing better than last year. And then you got a guy like Springer who's getting up in age.
Who's not had a good he's at the end of his career, but
and then you've got a guy like Kirk playing catcher.
Yeah.
Right? So honestly, you need to spend the money where you have good players right now. And if you don't spend it on those good players, you can then have to rebuild the trust in the Players Association that they're going to be like, oh, I should sign in Toronto. They want to win. You know when they started to win? When Toronto made that big deal with Florida.
Right.
Toronto decided, here, we're going to go all in.
Yeah.
They picked up AJ Burnett. They picked up Jose Reyes. They picked up Russell Martin that year. They got R.A. Dickey that year. Right? Like they get all these. I might be getting a couple of years mixed up and together. But no, the year they got R.A. Dickey was the year that they made the big trade for Donaldson.
Right. Before Donaldson was Scott Rowland, right?
Yeah. So the Jays under not Ross Atkins, but under Alex Anthopoulos, you knew that they were in.
Yeah.
So they signed these players.
Yeah.
After trading for good players, they could sign guys like Bautista, guys like Encarnacion, guys like there was another pitcher that they had back then, and they had these players within the organization that re-signed because they knew that the team was focused on winning. Yeah. And now the team...
You send a message to the organization when you don't sign these guys that you have no interest in winning.
Or that you have no interest in paying people to win.
Yeah. And who wants to come to that organization? Just like, and again, we can agree that these, you cannot compare, again, I say this again, you cannot compare $500 million, because that's what people do, to your average postal worker, the people that make an hourly wage in the street. You just can't do that. They live in a vacuum. Again, if you have a player that you believe is less talented than you, maybe is the age different, you think that you are just under him, let's say Vladdy Guerrero thinks that he's just a tad under Juan Soto's ability, and someone disagree with that because Vladdy Guerrero is a better defensive player than Juan
he's a
Soto,
Gold Glover.
who is deficient. Now,
Yeah.
first place, maybe me, you could play that, but still, it's still some.
I've seen you
degree
play
of
first
difference.
base, and you can't.
Well, agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But if you really believe that they're getting that amount, they create a market value.
Yeah.
It's not this, it's like if a bike, if you sell a bike for $2,000, or Taylor Swift tickets are even a better example. If I sell a Taylor Swift ticket for $3,000,
Yeah.
and I say, well, that person got $3,000. I have a better seat number. It's a lower in the stadium. I'm going to act accordingly and charge. I'm not going to say, well, I'm going to ask for $150 because that's the going rate for a ticket at a concert, or $300 or $200.
You're going to charge.
I'm going to
the market
charge
value.
the market value, and that's the market value. So yes, it is exorbitant compared to the overall worker, but that's what the market bears.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it,
then you don't compete. You also can't compare the Toronto Blue Jays to a team like the Tampa Bay Rays. People are going to say, "Oh, the Tampa Bay Rays do it."
Actually, the Tampa does not spend.
They don't spend. Exactly. The Tampa Bay Rays don't spend on their players. They trade their players away.
Years.
But the Tampa Bay Rays have also never traded away their prospects. They keep their prospects and they keep developing and developing and developing. But the players that they do want to keep, they keep.
Yeah.
And they'll keep them until they're at their prime plus.
Yeah.
So like a guy like Guerrero, the Jays, if he was in Tampa, he'd get traded when he's like 28, 29 years old. In 3 or 4 years in his prime plus. Yeah. Right? Like where
he's going to start declining.
Where you can get a lot for him still. Like Chris Archer with Tampa Bay, right? Like they re-signed, and then trade.
Yeah.
Right? Evan Longoria, re-sign, trade.
Ava Longoria.
And then like
the
Tampa Bay Rays will always trade and get great picks back. Yeah. And they reinvent their team through their picks. Yeah. But they don't trade and get rid of players like that they need. Yeah. And the Jays don't have a first baseman in the wings. They don't have a guy that's like Bo Bichette. Yes, he's kind of defensively liable, but he's a great hitter and he's situational. They don't have these players to be replaced. Yeah. So if you don't have them to be replaced, you've got to pay them right now while they're 25 years old. Yeah. Guerrero's 26 years old. And you're going to give up on him now?
Right. And I've never been afraid or never said don't trade. I think everyone personally is tradable. But the question I ask is, when you trade him, what percentage of that value do you get back in that trade? And if that is really low, I never ever want to trade that player. Let's say tomorrow,
right now, you know what value they're getting back for him?
Not much.
Very low.
Yeah. So let's say tomorrow the Boston Red Sox say we're going to give 4 of our best prospects and whatever. Draft picks aren't a big deal in Major League Baseball. A very big package. Of course, you would say yes because that's good value. Yeah. The problem is you just, like you said, you cannot let him walk. And this goes for any organization. It's very difficult to let good players walk for nothing. You have to get value in return. Now, oftentimes the best player in that deal, that team wins, but at least you've gotten something. You cannot lose a player for nothing. You can't do it in any sport. No. It doesn't make sense in an organization. It doesn't make sense in sports. Anyway.
And it's funny, the Jays on their promotional thing right now, it's Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, and Anthony Santander. Yeah. Right? Those are the 3 players that they're really promoting right now. And no more George Springer in there. No more Varsho. And
I heard Springer's a cheater.
And if you
cheater.
And if you look back, they gave up on Hernandez. Yeah. They traded him away for basically a relief pitcher.
When you say Hernandez, I remember that
home run
to make it tie game
in the opening game of the season 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
3 years ago, yeah.
3 years ago. That was a great
reminisce a little bit, yeah. That was crazy.
That was around, a little bit later than this. Yeah. So anyway, we want to get to the main topics of the day today, and this is the topic that everybody's been waiting for. By now, the Canadian federal government has been dissolved. Yeah. It's no longer
never
a government.
To ever start again. It's going to be virtual government from now on.
So what they
holograms and everything. This is breaking news from the Greg and Tim show. But yes, you're right. So Monday, this podcast, by the way, if you're not aware out there, podcast comes out every Monday, 7:30 a.m. Central Time. I believe that's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't ask me to do any of the other times because I will probably get them wrong. But the day before is the Sunday, which is supposed to be when the government of Canada
So headline,
calls an election.
the headline says, Carney will ask Governor General to dissolve Parliament Sunday, which was yesterday, and call an election. Sources say voting day will either be, and Ravid was not correct.
Really?
Voting day will either be April 28th or May 5th.
No, he said
according
28th.
to sources.
He said 28th.
Either be April 28th or
right.
May 5th.
I trust Ravid.
Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever get used to saying that unless he actually gets elected.
Yeah.
Will ask the Governor General to dissolve Parliament and call a federal election this Sunday. I just puked in my mouth a little bit. The election the election campaign will kick off barely a week after Carney was sworn in as Prime Minister and appointed his cabinet.
So
I just learned this. The cabinet isn't built by kitchen craft. It's built by the Prime Minister.
Ivan builds them.
No, Ivan sells them.
He sells them. Okay. I think he also builds them. He used to build them.
He sells them. He used to build them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he could build the cabinet.
He
right
could
now.
build me
Probably
a cabinet.
better than Mark
Probably
Carney.
a better cabinet than Mark
Yeah.
Carney had. So what are your thoughts on this? What do you think's going to happen?
Well, first of all, this, in my opinion, is Mark Carney trying to capitalize on poll gains.
What he thinks is poll gains.
What he thinks is poll gains, and to see if he can quickly call an election before anyone realizes what happens, and he keeps that lead in the polls, and he can squeak out a minority government.
He was in Edmonton playing.
It's next month. This is March. If they call it for April 28th, this election is happening next month.
Yeah.
That's insane, and that's what he's trying to do.
Like
He's
just
trying
over
to,
a month
He's
away.
trying to think that most people aren't paying attention, and he can get elected based on this whole increased polls for the Liberals, which, in my opinion, is fake news.
So right now, the CBC
Yeah.
poll tracker suggests that if the vote were to take place now, the Liberals could secure 176 seats and the Conservatives 133.
Because no one's paying attention.
But if they're listening to this, they should be paying attention.
Right. Okay. So
Or go to Jasmine's show.
when you
Go to
ask
Jasmine's show and learn.
when you ask a poll, no, it's not even that they are. When you ask the poll question, and it's a what if question.
Yeah.
It's like, what if he calls an election? Who are you voting for? Sure, I'll vote Liberal. And we all, first of all, we already know polls are incredibly inaccurate.
Yeah.
But let's assume this is correct. You know, Mark Carney is running on this thing. Is basically when people say who the Liberal leader is, it's not Mark Carney. It's anyone but Justin Trudeau.
Yeah.
This is what stream he's going on. It's like, oh, it's not Trudeau. Well,
Okay.
maybe I might vote
Then
Liberal.
we should vote Liberal again.
Not paying attention to anything Carney's done. And of course, you know that he's eliminated the carbon tax, right?
No, he hasn't actually.
No. That's why people are voting for it, because he eliminated the.
But
You're
he didn't.
telling me he hasn't?
Let's be face
it.
Squash this. Let's be face
Yeah,
it right now.
Yeah.
He didn't. Because he can't technically eliminate the carbon tax until there's a government.
Yeah.
And did you know what's going to happen on Sunday?
Yeah.
They're going to dissolve the government.
Right.
So they haven't even come back to work yet.
Yeah.
So they can't get rid of the carbon tax.
So my idea or my opinion is that he's doing it so fast that people think when they vote Liberal that this carbon tax is going away.
Oh, and there's a
And-
check coming out.
And the minutes or the month after or whatever it is, this thing is coming back. If you think Mark Carney
was the one that wanted the carbon tax.
if you think
he was advising Trudeau.
Mark Carney will not have some kind of carbon tax, he'll call it carbide tax, flammable tax.
What he'll call it is engine juice tax.
He's gonna call pogo stick tax.
Pogo stick
Because
tax.
that thing just runs right through you.
Like fuel on a fire.
And again, if you, like this idea,
I don't know if that's the
this
saying. Fuel on a
idea
fire.
that Mark Carney is like the opposite somehow of Justin Trudeau. If you think that, and that's why you're planning on voting
Can I
Liberal,
ask you a question?
you are a moron.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When was the last time you trusted a Carney?
I don't. If I'm like, you mean like when I'm going on the roller coaster, which I try to avoid. I did ride a couple.
Roller coaster is like at a fair, like at a permanent fairground,
like the Valley Fair.
Those
of
aren't
the
carnies.
Okay,
Those aren't carnies.
the pop-up ones.
The ones that they have to put the machine off the back of the truck and they unwind it and up and put a little cotter pin in there, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
When was the last time you trusted a carny?
I assume they're doing their job.
Is that why liberals vote liberal?
Yeah, probably. That's exactly right.
They assume Carney's doing his job.
So here's what I think is going to happen.
Tell me.
They're going to try to minimize the campaign. But you're going to have some of these questions.
You have to have debates.
There's going to be debates, and people are going to actually look at Mark Carney and see, do I want to vote for this guy? Because right now it's just
does he speak French?
Is he going to make the economy better? The head-to-heads between Polyev and Carney are going to tell the difference. And until then, these polls. Do you remember the last last time there was an election? Sorry, before the last time the election, when it resulted in the Liberal minority.
Yeah.
O'Toole.
Yeah.
Do you know that O'Toole from the Conservatives was leading that election in the polls for about 80% of that campaign? Did you know that?
No.
I paid attention to that campaign every week. He was leading in that campaign, and it was a fall election, and everyone wasn't paying attention for the summer. And then all of a sudden, when people were like, oh, I guess we have to pay attention, everything swung back to the Liberals.
Yeah.
These polls that people are, they're just buying into them way too much. And a lot will be determined by how Carney sounds and looks in a campaign trail.
Here's
100% of it's.
Here's a quote from Jagmeet Singh. Listen to this quote. You ready?
Yeah.
The NDP leader said his government is ready for an election, accusing Polyev and Carney of only being interested in helping billionaires and rich CEOs, while the New Democrats want to help workers and families.
Well, that's what the NDP does. They help the workers and the family.
Is that who they help?
Yeah.
Have you seen that commercial?
Whatever helps
Jagmeet Singh, he needs to get Rolex watches and Louis Vuitton bags and BMWs. So he's going to delay the election.
Yeah. Well, he was delaying the election to
so
give himself more time to get his full pension and to have more time to build up the trust that he broke because he tagged along with Trudeau for so long. And he had to break that association. Remember, anyone that associated themselves, and now it's Trump.
This is my other favorite comment by Singh. You ready for this?
Go ahead.
Mark Carney has been prime minister for a week now.
Yeah.
But he has done nothing for workers who are losing their jobs in this country, because Jagmeet Singh in 1 week would get every worker back on track.
It's all about the talking points.
And I'm not saying that Mark Carney is good.
Most politicians say things that assume the average voter is a dummy. And they might be correct. They might be correct. Otherwise, they wouldn't say it.
The other thing that kind of frustrates me, and if you're watching in Quebec, I'm fine with that. I actually prefer some Quebec people to watch, and if you want to comment in French, because
we'll translate it.
We'll translate it for you. But here's the thing: they run this party called the Bloc Québécois, which would be very similar to the Conservative Party of Canada in terms of where they're working, but they work for Quebec only. Yeah. And you can only vote for them in Quebec. So they're going to take a ton of votes, but and it's crazy, in the last few months, the NDP have plummeted in the polls.
Which is part of the issue with
the Bloc Québécois has gone down in the polls as well.
Yeah.
But the Conservatives and the Liberals have switched places in the polls. Yeah. Since basically since January of this year.
Yeah. And that has to do with someone other than Trudeau. So I don't know why. Remember I said a year ago there's no way Trudeau runs again?
Yeah.
I was right. But the fact that he took so long to decide that, and now he steps down, and apparently the Liberals are going to win another election. I don't know if I believe that. The other problem is Polyev. Sorry, I keep mispronouncing his name. I don't know why I still go to Polyev. Polyev. Now that and this is part of our next topic, but Trump, the association with Trump, because people are so mad at Trump, and they see this little tie-in with Poilievre and Trump being both conservatives, both right wing, and they're taking out the hatred on Trump on Poilievre.
But the thing with Poilievre is that Trump said the other night on Fox News,
Yep.
I would rather deal with a liberal in Canada. They're easier to deal with.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that Poilievre guy
Yeah.
has been saying what he's saying about me, because he's not helping himself.
Right.
I would rather deal with a liberal in Canada because they're easier to deal with.
Easier to push around, easier to get on top of, as far as getting,
Yeah, exactly.
to manipulate. I mean, what does that even mean? But the fact that maybe he's disassociating himself with the Conservatives might be a good thing for Poilievre, because anything in Canada, your average person, if you say Trump in Canada right now, because the tariffs, etc. He's affecting our. Don't you know that he's making our stocks plummet? We can't have him touch our money, right? So this is going into our next topic, but what can little old Canada do? We're going up against the United States, all for one for all.
Yeah, Canada first.
Yeah,
make Canada great again.
So do you want
MCGA?
Should we transition into?
Yeah, let's transition into this topic,
okay,
because I honestly think that this topic of the trade war is important.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that it's all for nothing. I think it's a bunch of smoke, and no fire.
Which it often is.
And no fire at all. And the reason why is because there's been a tariff, and then no, we're going to delay it.
Yeah.
And no, hard tariff. Monday, I am doing a tariff no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you guys a couple more weeks just to figure things out.
Yeah. Which has been effective in Canada and Mexico. And I know I'm sounding like a Trump apologetic, but Canada and Mexico have done some of the things that Trump asked for.
Yeah.
So if you're to say, wow, he's doing it for nothing, no, he's actually gotten
things
done.
Yeah.
Now, dislike Trump or like Trump, and he comes across as a bully and trying to get his way.
Yeah.
But if I'm Trump, I'm trying to, in 2.5 years, because he probably only has a House and Senate for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
He has a very limited amount of time, and he ran on this. If you're surprised by these tariffs, you weren't paying attention. He actually said, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So now we're upset, or maybe people weren't paying attention to what he was saying before, but now we're upset that Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do. And he could be right, he could be wrong. What he said is in the long term, this will make our country great again, economically better. In the short term, it might hurt economically, hurt in your stocks. But I don't know if he's right or wrong.
I think Trump is doing this for two different reasons.
Yeah.
One, he wants to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Two, he's got this 51st state thing in his brain so ingrained right now that he could essentially just cripple Canada to the point where it's like, well, we will take you over.
Yeah, that's never going to happen.
Well,
if that's just in his mind, maybe.
So in war, the Ukraine and Russian war, that's a war of actual fighting and violence.
Well, to a certain extent, yes.
So Russia's trying to cripple the Ukraine by taking out people, but it's also cutting off supplies in some areas, and it'll start doing things to Ukraine to cripple their country.
Yeah.
To say this trade situation, they're saying it's a trade war.
Yeah.
And the reason it's a trade war is because it could cripple a country.
Yeah.
Now,
and we deal in economics a whole lot more than actual guns in 2025.
And now, how would you fight this trade war?
Yeah.
Well, originally Trudeau said, well, we'll tariff them.
But I think there are tariffs going the other way, right? I think that's one of Trump's points, right?
One of the things that is a misconception is that, that the U.S. has to pay these huge tariffs on eggs and milk.
Yeah.
Well, the tariffs only kick in after the U.S. has bought in a certain amount of these. And the U.S. has never bought enough to actually pay tariffs on it, which is crazy. So, yes, there's exorbitant amounts of tariffs, but that's to curb the trade, to curb the exports of eggs so that they do utilize American produced.
Right.
The other thing too is that when we tariff them, we're just going to hurt our economy.
Yeah.
So yes, put a 27%, 25%, whatever you put on there. That means that when we get stuff from the US,
Yeah.
they're going to charge us 25% more,
Right.
which is going to get passed on to the consumer.
Yeah.
So when we tariff, we're actually hurting our own country.
Right.
When Trump tariffs,
Or
he's
at least hurting the average consumer.
in the short term,
Yeah.
he's hurting his own country.
Yes.
Trump is hurting his own country in the short term.
Yes.
But he's playing the long-term
Correct.
game right now where he's saying, well, people will stop buying the Canadian and they'll start producing in the US.
Right.
And that will hurt us.
Yeah. And help them.
Long term.
And help them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Long term.
Which is
so right now it's not hurting us.
yeah.
Right now,
You
when
could-
Trump tariffs us, it doesn't hurt us because they don't have factories to
Yeah.
produce what we're producing. They don't have the stuff to produce that we're producing. They have to put that in place.
Right.
So I don't see the tariffs lasting because of that.
Right. And a lot of it's rhetoric. A lot of it is seen as, not actually what's happening, but like I was saying, people see their stocks plummeting.
Yeah.
And it's the market's reaction to things that are being said that could happen in the future, right? Or you have forecasts, political forecasts. People say it's going to be down 40% in whatever it is, 2 years, right? These are just forecasts, right? So people are responding emotionally to an economic issue because there's nothing more important to us than our money.
Yeah.
Or at least to a lot of people. Now the question is, all these groups are saying we should boycott the United States. We should stop spending money out there. And this is going to show them that we mean business and we can fight this. We're big boys too. And we can take you on. And there's protests I heard in Vancouver, one of them on the weekend. And we have a friend of ours that said, yeah, I think I might cancel this thing that we went going. We're going to show them what it's like to be Canadian. We're all proud to be Canadian. So my question is, A, do you plan to do that in the next year, not spend as many dollars across the border? And B, do you think doing that is going to make a difference? 2 questions, and that's to you, that's to me, and that's the people out there.
So I don't have any plans to go to the States right now. So I can't say that I'm planning to not go.
Right.
So I don't have any plans to go. We are doing a Canadian trip this year.
Right.
So we're doing a Canadian road trip. And that was planned prior.
Yeah.
So that's not part of this. We had planned that prior. I've heard some people are canceling their Netflix subscriptions.
Right.
Because Netflix is American. And they're going to keep their Crave subscriptions, but they're canceling their Prime and their Netflix and their whatever other American subscriptions they have. Do they understand that Crave pays money to the United States?
No. This goes back to my point of
all the programming that you're watching. If
Yeah.
you're watching all the DC programming,
Yeah.
DC being the,
Yeah.
Superman and Batman, and then you're watching all of the HBO programming on Crave, those are all American shows.
Yeah.
And
even
you
though
know
it's
who
a
gets-
Canadian platform, it's still that money is filtering down to American companies.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yes, Canadian companies will make money off of it.
Yeah.
Crave is making money in Canada, owned
Yeah.
by Bell in Canada.
Yeah.
But it has to pay royalties to the
People
United
do
States.
not think that deeply about issues. They just think, oh, I'm not. I feel it was like during COVID. I feel good
If-
because I was protecting grandma.
If you really want to,
I said that. I shouldn't
You
have said
did.
that word.
You
Sorry.
shouldn't have said it. But if you really want to support Canadian,
Yeah.
you go to a Winnipeg Jets game.
Yeah.
You go to a Winnipeg Blue Bombers game. You go to a Gold Eyes game.
Yeah.
You go to the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra.
Yeah.
You go to the Manitoba Theatre for Young People. You go to the Prairie Theatre. Prairie Theatre? PTC?
PT Prairie. Yes.
PTE?
Yeah.
Prairie Theatre Exchange?
Yeah.
You go to all these places.
Yeah.
You buy local for all your produce. You buy local for all your meats.
Yeah.
What you don't do is you don't go on television. You don't watch TV.
Right.
Because most of those shows are produced in the United States.
Right.
So you boycott television.
Yeah.
You have to then boycott purchasing clothing.
Yep.
So everybody's naked. Unless
Naked and unashamed. Adam and Eve.
unless that clothing was 100% created in Canada,
Yeah.
which means that the cotton or the polyester has to be from Canada,
Yeah.
which means that all the manufacturing has to be from Canada, which means that you also are probably going to pay about $60 for a t-shirt.
I go back to my point about that time that we don't talk about, and I said the word. I think apparently you can't say it now, as long as you don't say that.
As long as you say Rovid.
Yeah. But if people think they're doing something about it and they feel better about themselves, they may not actually be doing anything about it, but it makes them good just to feel they think they are. If we follow the arrows in the grocery store, it doesn't matter if it didn't actually help. I thought it helped, so I'm a good person.
It's like buying a Tesla.
Yeah.
How much energy do you think produces a
Tesla? And that's a great example, right? If we think we're helping the environment, but we're not, it doesn't matter because we actually think we are. And good intentions,
good intentions are good intentions.
Yeah,
what's that saying?
Good intentions are the devil's playground. That's it?
No,
right?
that's idle hands.
Oh,
idle
devil's
hands. Play toy.
Okay.
The saying is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My opinion is I have no intentions of boycotting the U.S. So maybe I should get flack. Maybe I should be on Team Canada. You should get flack
for that.
Maybe I should be on Team Canada, and I guess I'm not buying into the whole thing. I think all this stuff about the economy, I think you have to wait a little bit. I agree with you. It's a long game, not a short game. Yeah. People should stop panicking about the market in fluctuation. I think that'll change. I agree. It's short term.
I honestly think that it's better to buy Canadian.
Right. And in general, you should
this hat, Canadian company.
Always want to invest and support local, whether you're talking about the tariffs or not, right? Because you want to grow your own local economy. I understand that point. So now should be no different than everything else. This whole boycott thing is a bit of a
but the thing is, people
witch hunt is what I was looking for.
I'm saying is that people need to educate themselves when they're supporting local,
right?
Like supporting local. You can support a local company, but it doesn't mean that they're buying everything locally.
Right.
And I'm fine with supporting a local company that, sells Nike.
Yeah.
Nike's made in Indonesia and in China and in the United States. Like it's made in a whole bunch of different countries.
That are Canada, I know.
But when I buy from that store, I'm supporting somebody from Canada
getting a job,
working there, getting a job, getting paid.
Yeah.
If I stop supporting, and it goes back to this whole thing, like I'm never supporting Walmart.
Right.
Walmart is a big greedy corporation. Well, Walmart employs as many people as it possibly can, and most of the time Walmart's hiring because they can't employ enough people.
Right.
But yes, I do want to support the mom and pop. I do want to go to the small restaurants. I do want to go to the unique stores to get unique items.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
But also you have to remember that all these people that work in these stores are Canadians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yes, the money goes to the States or the money goes to these big corporations. That's understandable. But these big corporations employ a lot of people.
And those people should quit their jobs so they don't support the U.S.
Yeah,
Everybody
should quit their job unless they're working for a Canadian-owned company with Canadian-made items.
The argument against what you're saying is people can only do, and this goes against my point too, but I'm just playing a little bit of devil's advocate. People do not like that word, just devil's advocate.
Pave that road to hell.
But the argument is we do the best with the knowledge we have at hand. And that's all we can do. And that goes against my point before, right?
Yeah.
And you might be right, but we're doing the best with the knowledge we have at hand. And we are, like I say, that's kind of where people are at for that point of view, right?
A good intention with a bad approach often leads to a poor result.
I did that thing where I repeated the same thing twice because my brain had that little spinny wheel. Remember the spinny wheel I used to get in
the smallest act of kindness.
File not loading.
The smallest act of kindness is worth more than the greatest intention.
Yeah.
No one would remember the Good Samaritan if he'd only had good intentions.
Right.
He had money as well.
He did have money.
Margaret Thatcher.
He could facilitate
old habits eat good intentions for lunch.
Yeah.
Change your habits so you can change your outcomes. An ounce of action is worth a ton of good intentions. Again, everybody has the intention to help Canada, to save Canada, to support Canadian.
Right.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
I want to support anybody.
You want to be on Team Canada here.
Yeah, like I want to support Canadians.
Do you think it has any impact that can Canada, if we do all these things like we boycott all, is that going to be, or can it be effective?
Not with our size of a population.
I'm going to be on your side of this argument and say I agree with that.
Yeah.
But again,
our population is just not big enough.
It's not. If you think that Canada can compete in a trade war against the US, and let's be honest, that's what Donald Trump is thinking. And that's why he thinks that he can push the country around. And you know, the scary thing is he could be right.
Yeah. Well, we want to know what you think. We want to know all of the comments, and sometimes we're wrong.
If you want to, in your comments, put me down for being, it sounded like I was Team USA today.
You sound a little American over there. Howdy, partner. How you doing,
if you want to come down on me for my opinions,
but there's some Americans that watch the show, and they might think that Tim guy, he's a good person. He has good intentions.
Yeah. And I'll say this: when I went to high school, I was captain of the USA debate team. I was like literally Team USA. That's horrible.
That is horrible. Anyways, if you have any comments, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all those fun things. Get your fill your friends' earballs with the Greg and Tim show.
Say, do you agree with us when we talked about spending in sports? That was an earlier topic, right?
Yeah.
If you're into sports, if you're not, no big deal. And by the way, you said this and you hadn't said this for a few episodes. You can fast forward the chapters. You don't want to talk about the Blue Jays re-signing or not re-signing Vladdy Guerrero. Just skip it.
They're already at the end of the episode, though. So by now, it's
I'm
too
saying
late.
in general, next time, whenever you're on, I assume they're tuning in every single week. So this is for the next time. You can fast forward to the end where we talk about Mark Carney. We talk about Carneys. Do you trust them? I don't know. And then,
so
are you planning on
make the comments. Let us know what your favorite season is.
Yeah.
What's your favorite season of the year?
That's even earlier. Even though they're end of the episode, they can still go back.
Yeah.
You can rewind.
Well, they can comment at the end of the episode still.
You could, yeah.
They're just not going to go back.
You could.
So what's your favorite season? Do you think the Jays should spend on Guerrero?
Yeah.
Do you think Carney's making the right move right now?
Yeah.
And also, do you think that supporting Canada is being done properly?
Yeah.
And do you think that we can make even a dent of a difference?
And do you plan on boycotting?
And
supporting the U.S.
boycotting?
and their companies and the products?
And if you're not using your Netflix right now, Tim would like the password.
And why or why not? I have my own IPTV that I download illegally. No, I do. I pay a service charge for it,
which is also illegal.
It's not.
I gotta cut that.
I just can't upload.
I can't have you.
I can't upload.
I can't have you getting arrested.
You should keep it in. I've already been controversial enough this episode. Just keep it all in.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next week on the Greg and Tim Show.
I'm Tim.
And I am Greg. Cheers.
Cheers. That was awesome.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.